So continuing from last week's podcast, where we were talking about the guru in you.
Yes. Yes, making yourself the guru, making yourself the teacher, making yourself. You know, when I was an active student in all of this stuff, I will be completely honest in the fact that I found teachers that that didn't resonate with me, that I actually thought were full of crap. and I didn't agree with what they said.
Yeah.
And as that started happening more and more, I made the decision that I would, if I stepped into a class and it was, my previous experience had been that, you know, there was nothing to get from it, I set the intention that I would receive something. I would receive exactly what I needed in the moment, and that I would be learning. And it may not be what I signed up for in the class. It may not be what I thought I wanted to learn, but that I would learn. And so while I was still seeing in a class and there was still a teacher, to me, that was a version of being my own teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Because then I was setting myself up to learn regardless of what was going on around me. So I was not dependent on anyone else teaching me. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And that worked for me.
Right. Well, and I've done similar things,
Mm-hmm.
right? I always say, you know, I just take what resonates with me and I leave the rest behind. Because that is, there's a reason that I'm sitting here. There's a reason that I've picked this book up. There's a reason that I'm watching this program, right?
Right. So let's just be open to it. And it may not be what I think it is. And so when we're talking about being your own hero, being your own teacher, being your own guru, that is how I would define it.
Yeah, I agree.
That regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're doing, when you do that conscious awareness that we mentioned last week, then and you come from living in that place, then you can look at what is going on and be open to the moment that is, and not the moment that you think it should be or want it to be. Because back to what Sonya said last week, then we're suffering.
That's right. Right.
Suffering.
There's no need to suffer. In fact, that's my cue.
No.
Gears.
What?
It says that's my cue to shift gears.
Okay.
When I am suffering or I'm frustrated, it's usually I don't suffer. I'm irritated. That's my trigger to go, okay, where are you messing yourself up here? Because my strive is to stay present and in balance, right? Keep the high, keep the energy flowing where I want it going, all of that. And when it's not, I'm suffering.
Yeah. True.
So that's my antenna raising, looking around and figuring out what's going on here. What am I messing up here? What am I doing wrong? What is not working for me? Right. Or what am I not working?
Right.
So yeah. Because because again, I've set the intention that I strive to be the best that I can be. And, being here now, I feel like the best that I can offer is just to be that example. by the doing, not by the saying or the teaching. And yeah, we're sitting here and we're talking about this and whatnot, but I'm only talking about it from the perspective of what I'm doing with myself, not
Right.
what I'm telling anybody else to do, not what I'm telling you to do or the listeners or anything. Although,
What I
if
have
it
learned in my
resonates with you,
experience, yes.
right, then, hey, feel free to give it a try, right?
Mhm. I think it's interesting. One of the things that I see is that there's this general belief that I have found not to be true. There's this general belief that if I how can I put this? Once I reach a level of something, a level of conscious awareness, a level of evolution, a level of something, then everything will become easier and there won't be suffering. And that you're still in 3D body. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't fully and completely change your life, but there are still things that are going to happen in your life, in the world, and it allows me to continue to practice what I am talking about.
Yeah.
And living that way. It doesn't, I've had that conversation with clients, and a lot of clients don't like to hear that.
Well, yeah. And I can understand that too, because in that moment, that's just not the answer you want to hear.
Right.
But if you can take that away and allow yourself to revisit it, you may find, as I and you found, that yeah, that was exactly what I needed
Right.
to hear in that moment, because that's where I was. I just was in resistance to that.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's like that video you sent me about Saturn. So that was fun.
Oh, did you like that?
So Sonia sent me a video about he's an astrologer, but there's what is it? I don't remember what is taken. I don't remember his name, but
You know what? And I stumbled on, I've never seen that guy before, but
yeah,
that was definitely what it was. Is I was looking to find some information on, my Saturn placement. And there was this one astrologer that has this, she has this workshop or thing, and it was called Do Your Saturn. And so I was trying to find it. And so that's what I put in Google. And then that video popped up, and I watched it, and I was like, And I know we're talking about this and everybody's going, well, what is it? I'll put the link to it so you guys can check it out. But I'm trying to find the guy.
Say his name.
How to develop your Saturn.
That's right.
YouTube
that's right.
post and or video. And oops, sorry, I don't want to start the video. What is
Saturn is all about living in the human body.
Yeah, it was.
And dealing with the challenging 3D things that come with being here.
Yeah. Ryan Kursak is his name.
What was it?
Ryan Kursak.
Okay.
And
so we'll post the link to it if anyone's interested in astrology. It's not specifically about Saturn in a sign. It's just about Saturn in your life.
Yeah, and it was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was, and he said the same thing. He's like, sometimes people don't want to hear this, but that's just what Saturn is. Saturn is about doing the work that's in front of you and enduring. And boy, we don't like that word.
Nope.
We want to believe that we can reach a certain level, whatever that level is, based on whatever your belief system is, that we can reach a certain level that we just don't have to deal with that stuff anymore. And I personally do not find that to be true while we are in physical body.
No, because when we're done with it all, then we're no longer needing to be in physical body.
Right.
Or whatever. And again, I don't always feel like, because I've actually met some people that are just here on vacation. Angels in human form. This is my vacation. I took a sabbatical, right? And for them, this is quite the little play paradise, right?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't come in with amnesia, then you could have a hella good time down here.
Yeah.
Because you know the rules. And you know, like, where all the cool tools are buried, right? So, ooh, I might have to try and come back for one of those. Have a little earthly vacay, right?
I don't even know if I ever did.
Better than Cancun at spring break, people. But yeah, but the other part that I liked about what he said about that, though, was that, and sometimes that can be a really good thing. Like when you do the really hard thing, the difficult task, the heavy lifting, and you're able to do it, you do have a sense of pride, of accomplishment, of hell yeah, I did it, ugh, you know? And that's Saturn too. That's Saturn going, good job, right?
Their most perfect Saturn voice.
Well, it is my teacher's cap.
Yeah.
I got everything in my life happening in my 10th house. What can I say? Well, that's not true, but a lot of it is. But yeah, and so I think, you know, going back to what we were talking about last week and sort of my care and concern for a lot of people out there, you know, there's just so much talk of fear. You know, I'm afraid that this will happen. I'm afraid that that could happen. Wow. And, you know, especially from people that, you know, talk about words are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I just look at it and it's almost like if you had a magic wand in your hand, do you realize that you are just blowing shit up left and right?
Yeah.
With this careless wand flinging with your words.
Right.
And then, because again, we're in this shifting, changing, growing. So, you know, it's like if I was moving somewhere, let's use a moving analogy.
Yay, moving.
Last week, there's stuff that I'm not taking with me, right? Stuff I'm getting rid of, garbage, junk, cleaning up. Well, what if you were taking that shit with you? We're moving and you want to bring the garbage with you.
I just laugh because I have actually packed garbage.
To actually take to your home or just to put in your car to drop off at the dump?
Yeah.
Okay. No judgment.
So it was a long time ago, but yeah. But yeah, as someone who has done it.
Well, there you go.
Probably better ways to manage your stuff than to pack your garbage and take it with you.
Yeah.
But we do it. I did it like literally moving, but we do it all the time.
Well, and I also want to say, because you bring that up, pack it in, pack it out.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go camping, we do literally take our garbage with us.
Yeah.
So there are some times where taking your garbage with you is acceptable. I got to think about a better analogy now.
Oh man. Oh man. I know you'll come up with something. You're good at those.
Yeah. But working with what we have right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Why, okay, there's a lot of really scary things that are happening in this world. I think we can agree with that.
Absolutely.
That being said, do you really need to be afraid?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah.
Leave that there.
And I think asking that question on a regular basis is a valid thing to do. There was, can I share a story?
Sure.
There was.
Is it my story?
No, it's not. No,
If it's not mine, go ahead.
you're not talking about me, are you? No, no. So I don't know about you, but who else has woken up at like 3 a.m. and thinks about everything that's wrong in their life? Anybody? Or is that just me?
It's just you, girlfriend. Nobody ever thinks that.
Okay.
That's weird. That's what?
Weird.
Never.
It's weird, huh? What? What are you talking about? So if I have any fellow listeners that are like, yeah, maybe I've done that once.
Actually, it's 3:47 to be exact. But anyway.
Perfect. Every morning, 3:47, I wake up and go, oh, fuck.
My life. Oh. Anyway.
So did that for the longest time. And then when I was going through a really difficult time, and so I woke up at 3 a.m. and immediately, and I don't know why this night was different, it just was. I had reached a level where I was able to do this. So I'm laying there, and all of a sudden, now you don't have enough money to live, right? You're never going to be able to take care of yourself. And mine was always ended up with me dying in the street alone. So I'm sure that's a past life.
Right.
That was never really going to happen in this lifetime. But so, you're never going to have enough money. And I sat there and I ruminated on it for a bit. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to take that up. And I set it aside. So then it hits, well, you're going to be alone for all of the rest of your life. You're just going to be alone. No one will ever love you. You'll never have a partner, blah, blah, blah. So I sat with that for a bit, but it didn't take as long. And I was like, no, yeah, I'm not really going to accept that. And then, so basically it cycled through just about every fear that anyone has ever had, played through. And each time it came to me, I denied it. And then it was interesting. So I'm just laying there in bed and I watched it. Then it started cycling through faster, like throwing, shitballs at me. What is she going to respond to? And I'm like, I'm not participating. I'm not participating in this. I'm not going to do this. So I laid there and then I became aware of fear, just generalized fear as an energy form that was just kind of hanging out above me. It wasn't a thing like it wasn't a spirit or anything like that. It was just an energy of fear.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, I'm not participating. I'm not giving you any energy. You don't get to play here. And it dissipated and disappeared, the energy, and I went back to sleep. And what I became aware of in that time is that, and this is fear is energy, and of course we all know that, but it became a knowing in the sense of, I didn't have to think about it. It was just a knowing of a truth, that fear is just energy and we entertain it or we don't. And that's it. And it's just looking for the weakest link. It's looking for the access in its energy. It reads your energy. So if you're laying there and you're stressed out about whatever it is, then it's just going to slide on in, because when we're doing that, we're lowering our energy. It has access to us. And so I'm not, once again, I'm not talking about a spirit or an attachment or anything like that. I'm just talking about an actual manifestation of an energy of fear. And as all of these changes have been happening in 2020, there's a shit ton of fear energy just running around the earth, just looking for a place to land.
Down aisle 3 at the grocery store.
It's hanging out there.
Yeah, it's true.
So that confirmed for me that I didn't have to play that game.
Yeah. And stories make me think about that, because there's always going to be that person that's like, but you just don't understand. This is life or death.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, where I go and I don't believe that I was from an incarnation standpoint, a Holocaust survivor. I have a lot of empathy, and I've actually done some past life regression with people that were. The thing that I find so amazing of spirit in the human that was a Holocaust survivor, and is my answer to, there are some fears that you should be fearful of. Yes, and I was fascinated by that time period, and and I'm fascinated by history. So I did a lot of reading and stuff about that when I was growing up. And The Diary of Anne Frank was one of my favorite stories. But the
I
thing
visited
I think
that house
yeah.
when I was in Amsterdam. It was amazing. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's so amazing. I would just gave me goosebumps just to have you say that. Because they were so brave, so courageous, even in what I don't think anybody could argue with as one of the most horrifically terrifying periods of time that a person could experience. And they came through it and said, we are survivors. We are not victims. We are survivors. And boy, it was so empowering to me, even as a child. That was such an empowering statement. And I think that to some degree, that sort of helped me to identify that I'm a glass is half full kind of girl, right? Because, or maybe I just am tenacious and I don't give up. I don't know. However, they didn't either. And they had every legitimate reason to just go down into this deep well of fear. And I'm not saying that there weren't those that did. They weren't the Holocaust survivors, though. They might have been the wartime survivors, in different countries and whatnot. And so that's sort of where, that's where we sort of really dig deeper than the resources of our humanity, but to the resources of our soul, and know that, you may kill me, but you won't take my spirit from me.
Right.
I won't let this fear be my identity.
Yeah.
And I really feel like, and again, I am not comparing what we're doing now I'm just merely using that as an example of something to me where I admire and am in awe of those humans. And then to forgive, I mean, come on. Right. Those are some big shiny souls right there. Okay.
Right.
That really allowed themselves to go through that experience for the benefit of us all to bear witness to.
Yeah.
And I feel like that in some ways, not the same way, we are having this same opportunity and experience at a collective level.
Yeah.
And my hope and my intention and my prayer and what I Reiki is that we find the courage and the bravery to face whatever the challenges that's coming us, no matter how frightening it may be to you, at the possibility of what isn't even here yet. And that's the other thing. We're afraid of possibilities right now. And I'm not going any further than that. Y'all can connect the dots or not. So, this is a great moment in humanity for us to not be human.
It is absolutely a call to rise up.
Yeah.
And that's how living in this 3D world works. For the most cases, the majority of us don't rise up until we are forced to do so.
Right. Backed in a corner, head on the ground with the boot on the head. I wouldn't know anything about that.
That makes me think of that picture of that kid with the boot on the head and he's got his hand in the boot.
Oh,
have you seen that meme?
no, but I'm looking for that one.
Yeah, so he's laying there, and I think it's a kid, but he's laying there, and it's just a close up of his head, and you see the boot right on
Right.
his ear, and then they pan out, and you see his arm in the boot, holding the boot against his head, while his
Stop
head
hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
Stop hitting yourself. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. So, you know, be your own guru, be your own hero. Be brave and courageous and push through the fear or push down the fear. Because let's do the Dr. Phil and ask the what if question, right?
How's that working for you?
Right? So, what if this thing that you fear is the thing that happens?
Right.
The person that you don't want to be in charge is in charge.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with that? How are you going to feel? How are you going to deal?
You
Because
know,
resistance right now doesn't change what may be inevitable. And what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling as an empath, what makes me concerned is that there is suffering for a future event that may not happen.
mm-hmm.
That's wasteful. That's a waste of energy.
Yeah. It's interesting in doing that exercise, both with myself and, you know, with my clients. So you fear that, okay, so that's happened. What happens now?
Yeah.
And you just continue
Yeah.
to go through that process. What I find is at the end, and this is true for me and it's true for my clients, so it'll be interesting what your experience has been, but what I find in the end, it has to do with them dying.
Yeah. People are very afraid of death. I used to be too.
Absolutely.
And now it's transition.
Right.
And so that is made, you know, a big difference for me because, you know, transition means not death.
Right. I love that. This is true. Transition means not death. But can you imagine that it explains why we fight so hard to stop something from happening? Because somewhere in our psyche, we believe that means we're going to die.
Yeah.
That if this happens, that means that I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And so the
There are
majority
things far worse than death.
yes, well, this is true. The majority of humans will fight that.
Yeah. And are currently,
Yes.
as we speak. And again, not to have a judgment. It's more a concern.
Right.
Stress kills. You're afraid of dying.
That is stressing you out. Look at what happens.
Yeah. And it's not, you know, putting your head in the sand or not facing reality.
No.
Those things are not intertwined, right? Like when we compartmentalize everything, then we think that we only have to deal with this one thing until it's one thing that bleeds out into all the other boxes and then starts ruining all the boxes that we've created. And then now it's like a 4-alarm fire because it has spilled over into all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is you're still in a box. It's just a bigger box that's got all your other boxes in it.
Yeah.
And then when you get out of the box, just like when you get out of the fishbowl, right? You only know what's in that fishbowl. You don't know what's outside of it.
Right.
So you jump out of it, and then you're like, wow, I was a fishbowl in an ocean. Or a swimming pool. Or a thimble. So, you know, the biggest thing for me, though, in all of this is recognizing that as I have all these awarenesses of the things that I see happening around me, I just simply ask myself, and so what does that mean to me? What does that mean for me?
Right.
Like, do I need to fix it? Is this a rescuer thing being pulled up in me? Or am I just merely the witness, the observer?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I'm just being present with what is coming to me, what is in my field of vision. Maybe it's just, you know, material for the show. I don't judge it. I just explore it.
Mm-hmm.
I just sit with it and play with it. It's like Play-Doh. We can shape it into whatever we want.
Right.
Or it can be formless, shapeless. There's limitless. So I feel like there's a lot of self-imposed limitations that are happening right now. And there's a lot of imposed limitations that are occurring as well.
Yes, we are in 2020. That's correct.
With, lockdowns and the whatnot. And all of these things combined and individually can be enough to put you into a space of fear.
Yeah.
And as we said, I don't remember if it was today or if it was last week, and that's exactly the space we're in, so we can do this and have this experience and grow.
Right.
So it's perfect, and it's also, I feel, introspective space that a lot of people, myself included at times, have either been afraid to go to or haven't yet gotten around to that piece of it just yet.
There's this astrologer that I follow, and I have been listening to her, and she's been talking about using the big aspects, right? So the aspects of the major or the distant planets, Pluto, Neptune, and though Saturn is personal planet, is making huge shifts in the world because that's what it rules. So anyway, she's been talking, and she had this way of explaining it that made sense to me, and I decided I wanted to share it this week. She said, so 2020, and she gives the planetary reasons for this, but I'm not going to go into this. I'm just going to go into the explanation. 2020 is, we are in the birth canal.
Oh, yeah.
So there is pressure and pressure and more pressure, and we can't move, we can't go backward, and we're kind of stuck. We're not moving forward. It may be slower than what we want. We don't know where we're going to end up.
Right.
And we don't have any control, and we're just being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and constricted and restricted. And she said, so that's 2020.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. And then 2021, we're born.
Oh, yes.
We're born, and the umbilical cord is cut, and we are cleaned up, and we are getting used to the new world, the world that we are now in.
Breathing on our own.
breathing on our own. And it's the time to, and she connects this with Pluto and, or excuse me, Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, both being in Aquarius. And so she connects, it's the time to create with joy. It's the time to make what you want expansive and big and pleasurable. She said, so then the 2021 is the learning portion and the setting of intention and deciding what we're going to create and make in this new world that we're in. And then 2022 is when it happens.
Oh, okay.
So it's not saying that it can't happen in 2021. Right. 2021 is the learning process, and it's the intention and deciding what you want now that you have left behind all of that restriction.
Yes. No, that makes good sense, right? Well, my phone breaks. I need to get a new one. I'm going to go do some research, figure out what kind of phone I want to get now. Then I might have a little bit of a learning curve because it's going to have some different functions and features.
Right.
Makes good sense. And by 2022, this is my new phone. I love it.
I am down, and I am also reaping the benefits.
Yeah, I like that.
The benefits of it, because this conjunction that she all connected it to is Jupiter and Saturn conjuncting in Aquarius.
Yeah.
Which is a huge shift, getting out of the Capricorn energy or the Earth energy that we've been in, which has all been 3D, 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 3D.
Yeah. And, Capricorn can be a bit institutionalizing, which can also be a bit victimizing. So I can see where that could definitely, put us in a container that doesn't feel super comfy.
Right.
Right.
Well, and the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn, so that goes back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Saturn is that authoritative jerk of a dad that's telling you to get your butt up and go clean your room. And you were just sitting there, playing video games, and you're like, why are you busting my butt? I wasn't doing it. What? Why now?
I'm just sitting here. Let me finish.
I'm just sitting here. Yeah, like it feels like it's punishment, but they did tell you to do it 3 weeks ago, and you have been putting it off.
Yes.
And now we're putting it off. We're at that point. Like if we were to go back to 2012, the end of the world as we know it, it's been 8 years now. And 8 is the number of ownership and responsibility. So it's Saturn.
and decision and action and
right. Time to get it done.
Right.
So because then we move into 9, completion. Right. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But again, what are you feeling as you're dealing?
Right. It goes back to what I said last week about setting the intention that you're going to get whatever it is that you need to create whatever it is that you want.
And boy, that's a mouthful. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that is scary. That is scary to a lot of people, to think like full on sovereignty, full on Buddha stage, where you can do what you want to create the world you want, is terrifying to many, many people.
Yeah, sure.
And so we see people, I see people making comments about being sovereign humans, and they don't understand what they're saying. And they're picking fights that are not what it is.
Right.
Sovereignty is controlling your destiny,
not someone else's.
not someone else's.
And accepting the responsibility when things don't go really well.
Right.
You know, and also understanding the responsibility of the power that you wield through your words, through your actions,
Through your decisions,
through your energy.
through your thoughts, through your responses. Absolutely.
Yep. That's
And
where I get my lessons right now. You
yeah.
want us to let you have all your power? You lost your shit 2 minutes ago because somebody ate the last piece of sourdough bread.
Oh, girlfriend, I am.
You got a wand, you'd have blown up the house.
Yes. Yes.
And when I want to go to, but they, oh, it's not about they.
No, not at all. Not at all. It is all
You know,
about me and what I chose to do and how I want to try to justify it and how I want to be right. And yeah.
yeah, there it's a tricky wicket. It's not. It's how do I want? I don't want to say it's not. It is effortless and it is delicately balanced. And sometimes you can overextend yourself and lose your balance. And or tip yourself too far forward and then you can't get yourself back up. I've done that once or twice. Have to call in some help. So I know for myself as I look around and see, you know, what's happening out in the world. I add it to my prayers. I add it to my, in my meditations to not only be the change that I want to see in the world, but to be that reflecting pond for others. And that's it, right? It's like that expression, a lighthouse doesn't go about searching for ships.
Right.
It just stands there and light shines the light.
Right.
Well, I think the same is true in my little reflecting pond. You know, the pond isn't going to pick itself up and move to your little grassy area and then plop itself down and then settle down so that it'll be a reflection for you to look at. You know, you come upon something like that, and if you're present, then you actually see the pond, cast a gaze, and reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have been seeing so much water lately. Like, we live in the desert, and we do have 7 lakes, you know, in Maricopa County, which most people are like, what? But we do.
And the Salt River, which is gorgeous.
Right. But there are so many lake subdivisions, like all over this valley. And like, I know where the most of them are, but I've been discovering even more. And I'm just like, I didn't realize that there was a lake subdivision right here. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the water has been a big thing for me lately. And again, water, emotions, feelings, right? All of that. Mutability, fluidity.
Uh-huh.
And then there's Bruce Lee, be like water.
Right.
So that's my intention, to be like water and hope that others will be like the flowing water too. Not the raging rivers, not the tsunamis, and not the dry riverbeds either. Because there's just so much more than what the eyes can see and the ears can hear. This is not a third dimensional experience right now. It may feel very 3D, but if you be like water, you know, and nothing stops water.
Right.
Water goes where it wants to go. Perfect examples all up in the mountains of that. People buy property and they build, and then whoo, the water just comes right through there. And it's like, why did this happen? Because water goes where it will go. So, you know, again, earth is hard. It's static. It's right? But it changes too, but it's usually changing because of either man or because of water.
So there you go.
So there you go. So anyway, I know that's kind of a strange analogy, but I, we started talking about this just because, like I said, I just hate to see people suffer, and take an Epsom salt bath.
Oh man, I tell you what, with this move, I was reminded again just how amazing that is.
Yeah.
How amazing that is. I made Nolan, he had a rough weekend. I made Nolan soak his feet in Epsom salt last night. And he did it. He likes it. He did it for about a half hour.
Oh, that's lovely.
Until he was done. But yes.
Right. Yes. There you go. Even the children know. It's
That's
helpful, beneficial. And I just hope that, everybody can get in the flow, find your peace, feel safe, just float on down the water. May it be cool and refreshing.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think that this was, I'm glad we came back to this. I'm glad that we talked about this a little more, because I definitely had, I had actually recorded a show the week you were moving, and it was similar to this, but different. And then as I shared with you, when I went to go edit it, right in the middle, there was 11 minutes of just silence, and I did not stop recording.
That is amazing.
And I couldn't remember what I had said in that 11-minute gap between the 2 points where I was talking, stopped talking, and then started talking. So I ended up not being able to post that.
Right.
But that was probably just as well, because even though this, may not make a lot of sense to anybody, I feel like for me, what started 2 weeks ago and what we talked about this past week and this week, it was me sort of taking in all of that information and then seeing it and going, oh, okay, it'll be fine.
Right.
It'll flow, right? Just let it flow. Just let it flow. Don't let it go. Let it flow.
There you go. Life is so much easier.
Yes, it is. It really, really is. Even if your mind says, but it's not safe.
Right.
Well, unless you've got something else, I feel complete.
No, I think I'm good. For those of you in the U.S., you may be celebrating Thanksgiving this week. And regardless of what it may or may not mean to you, I hope that you can find those things in your life to be thankful for, and to spend some time being thankful for them. So this is In My Experience, and I'm Piperlyne.
And I'm Sonya Lee. We'll
You can catch us on YouTube, on In My Experience podcast. You can email us at inmyexperience1111@gmail.com. And of course, we will see you on Podbean.
Until then, take care and have a great holiday. And I just give thanks for you, Piperlyne. And I give thanks to everyone that listens to us.
Lovely. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye now.